Typical, I'm going to do a little talking, a little reading. So,
Cool, cool. Do a quick
Awesome.
intro and we'll get it over to you. Kaylee, you want to roll it out?
Sure, I'll start. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. My name's Kaylee. I'm with Green Home Loans. I'm the business development and marketing manager. And thank you so much for joining us today. We have a wealth of knowledge with Sean Rogers here at the Mr. Rogers Homes team at West USA. He's the best, great partner of ours, and we appreciate him greatly. So thank you so much, Sean, for doing this. My main goal here at Green Home Loans is to meet with our realtor partners, understand your origination strategies, and what we can do to help you bring in more business. I work closely with Bree Kruger over at Great American Title. We have Bree and Lynn on here, both amazing partners of ours at Great American. And we just really want to understand how you originate and see what we can do to help you and support you in your business. We have our owner or co-owner, Reggie Green, on here. So, Reggie, I'll let you say a couple things.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us. And wanted to again thank you, Sean, for throwing this for us. And also our partners at Great American. You guys are the best, and we personally use them as well. But just real quick, our goal, obviously, if you're working with a mortgage professional, we obviously want to offer great products, great service. To me, that's like a given. What we really want to do outside of that is we want to do everything we can to help you grow your business, ultimately impact more clients and close more deals, make more money. So we have a large focus on doing everything we can to help you from a business standpoint. Kaylee helps a lot of agents, not only with a ton of tools that we offer, but also implementing those tools into your business. So if you would ever like to work with a loan officer and a team that really does everything we can to try to help you grow, please reach out to Kaylee or myself and love to discuss your business and how we can work together to close more deals. So with that, I'll leave it over to Bree and Lynn and appreciate you guys sponsoring this with us.
Of course. My name's Bree, and I have my business partner Lynn on today. And we're here with Great American Title, and we're here for all of your marketing needs. So we work closely with Kaylee, as well as Reggie and all of his loan officers. They're phenomenal. And we're here to just help you grow your business. So whether it be some marketing strategy, social media strategy, AI, anything to do with implementing your business to grow and to get more deals going for you, we really like to partner with you and come alongside you and grow your business with you. And we're excited. We work with Sean Rogers and his team, so we're super excited to have Sean on today and just learn together. And he is the leads master, so we're excited to share some knowledge. And I'll uh, I'll have Sean take it away.
well, I'll always start out with a thank you, everybody, and just a big thank you. I like to go through the Reggie and Team Green. Thank you for all you do from the bottom of my heart. Means the world that we have connections that help clients ultimately move forward to their goals. And Great American, we couldn't do it without you. So we just the partnership means everything to me. And I always want to give a shout out to West USA, celebrating 40 years in business. And so that's always a blessing to see them moving forward. And I'm proud to be part of that. And if I don't want to get myself in trouble, so I want to say, love your mom, love my wife, love everybody out there on the team, and just hope everybody can move forward and be happy with what I'm going to share. If you know me, you know that talking is not my issue. I usually babble on to the day. Sometimes I just keep going, and I just want to always help people. So with that being said, thank you for attending, and I'm going to name. I'm just going to do what I can to answer your questions as we go, and I'll just kind of rapid fire some of the information that I think you most need when it comes to leads. I think you're going to see throughout this um, Zoom that there's a common denominator here of what one needs in order to ultimately complete a transaction. And if you would grasp the fact that if you always try to help people, you get when you give, you'll see that the whole picture will come together. So one of my favorite, let's dive right into the leads, and I'll count on KT to help. If there's any questions, just let me know and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And that way everybody has some, excuse me, input, because sometimes a question from a different angle has an answer that will best help a client move forward. And if you notice throughout this Zoom, one more thing I'll say is, although we're agents and lenders and title companies, ultimately putting aside your fiduciary, your code of ethics, you really always want to help a client. And if you do that, you'll see referrals just come in, and I'm blessed to be in the business a long, long time. And that's traditionally because you take care of a client. You do what you say and you say what you do, and then you move forward. So let me just read this real quick to you guys. One of my favorite sayings is leads are like gold mines. They're only as good as the person working them. And I carry that throughout everything I do in real estate, because if you're not going to work something properly, traditionally it doesn't work out well for you. And I'll probably repeat that once or twice. And I'll also say you can't cheat the grind and you have to do the work. So if you work something properly, I should say, and I'm just going to dive right into one of the first ones we wanted to talk about was um, social media leads. And before I kind of go into that, because that erupted over the years, as it used to just be one thing. You would be on social media. Christ, I go all the way back to MySpace and kind of dabbled with that. And actually, I heard that's making a comeback, which is funny to me. But moving forward, all the social media platforms that are out there, they all have about the same goal, but there's also different ways to tweak them. So with any of those leads, and here's my first tip to you guys: speed the lead. And that's key. It's probably one of the most important factors that you're going to use with any lead that you work. Like in baseball, you can't get on second base if you don't touch first. So there's always a process. So the first step is to introduce yourself. And you know what? Let me back that up a little bit. Many times people are like, well, it's tough to get somebody on the phone or on a text or an email. I understand that. And I have a couple numbers that I'll share with you a bit down the road. But you have to make sure that you consistently reach out to the lead as quick as possible, keeping in mind that when you get them on the phone, it's not so much a sales presentation that you're trying to give them. You want to always give them your name, who you're with, and then just reiterate what they asked for on the lead, or perhaps what they clicked for. What this does is it ties you into that client, or I'm sorry, at this point, a lead, and then hopefully a customer and a client. If you just go right for the proverbial kill, all about, sign this and be my best friend, and let's, go look at homes ASAP, you're probably skipping over what the question is. And I don't know who of this meeting, uses different platforms like CRMs, for example, but whatever platform you're on, CRM or otherwise, when the lead comes into your system or on your phone, make sure that you just give it the once over. And that way, again, what somebody's looking for. Sometimes they just want to have information about how big the living room is. Sometimes they want disclosure sent to them. Sometimes they want to set up a tour. Sometimes they just want to see if the property that is on said sites are legitimate. So all those things are usually in their very quick description. So call them quick, speed the lead, identify yourself. I usually include the firm I'm with, and then I move forward with answering the questions that they have. So that's first and foremost. Whew. This one is probably on top of the list, and I keep saying that because as I rattled through these, and thank you for just listening to me, and I'll say it over and over. Sometimes my style is a little different than everybody else because I go off the top after I read bullet points, but it all does come together. And here's one of my biggest things that I hear agents over and over is that they can't get somebody on the phone. The leads aren't converting. I can say this. Let's go over a few stats about giving up. And KT, if you could put that one spreadsheet, I'm sorry, that one JPEG up on the screen, that would help me. This is one of the things that
Sean, which one?
the sales statistics.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm
Gotcha.
sorry.
There we go.
And if you
Can
look at
everyone
this,
see that?
if you look at this chart, it'll become clear pretty quick where everybody falls. And I don't per se, I'm not here to
Hold
judge
on.
anybody, and that's not what I'm just trying to help you understand that leads aren't going to convert themselves Even when they're properly worked, most leads need to be nurtured accordingly. Like in baseball, you're not going to hit every ball out of the park, but you got to keep swinging. So if you look at the statistics that are up there, most people, and we don't have to go through each one, but you'll see that hat or 48% of salespeople never really follow up with the prospect. And then as you go through this list, and by the way, these percentages are pretty accurate. I just reran them again. But if you just keep going down midway through, you see only 10% of salespeople make more than three contacts, and then just moving right down to the bottom, and I'll cut right to the chase. And I think we can put this and share this with you, KT, if you want to. I don't know how exactly that would be done, but I guess we just put it down at the bottom and people can have it, and maybe print it out and put it somewhere where you remember that at the very bottom, 80% of sales are made on the fifth to 12th contact. Now, I don't want to give anybody a bad visual, but back in my days, when I was working leads consistently, I used to be in the shower with my Bluetooth on, so I don't miss a call. It doesn't necessarily mean that the best agent grabs the call, and I stress this all the time. You might be a seasoned agent, you might have the most reviews, you might know the area like the back of your hand, you can write contracts with left and right, you can just do everything. But if you don't answer that call or text or email, again, however the lead comes in, as quick as possible, then it doesn't mean you're out looking at this chart. It just means that you now have to make sure that your follow up is key. So that's one of the most important things, would be to understand that don't give up. Look how many people don't make those second or third attempts. And I joke when I say it because we live in a different world now, but I mean, the people that are married or in relationships, I don't think that you accepted a ring on your finger from the other person, excuse me, after the first text message or email. It takes nurturing. So when people don't know you, and a lot of the leads we're going to talk about, when they don't know you, they're just clicking buttons. But one of the first things you have to do is add value and build that trust. So it's understandable that they're not going to be open to everything you're saying or even responding on the first text message or outreach. So this next one is one that is always near and dear to my heart, and then we'll dive right into the leads themselves. But real estate is a people business. We're surrounded with ways to obtain information. There's so many different ways to gather information, but it isn't how many leads you have. It's actually how you work them. You're really not in a hurry. And what I see a lot of agents do is, and again, I don't want to speak with forked tongue, but a new lead comes in. So it's very important you jump on that lead ASAP. But when you have that lead, you want to take your time and listen to what they're saying, take notes. And again, if you go back a little bit and see what they were asking for, then you have the technology now, whether it's your computer, or your phone, to look up the property that they're interested in. And if you are skilled in your trade, you'll be more able to answer whatever questions that they're going to throw at you. So if you take anything from this training, I would hope that it would be this. You want to conduct a conversation, not an interrogation. You just want to talk. And again, even this right now, this Zoom meeting, it's just having a conversation. I get texting and emailing is a great way to go about things, and AI has a lot, and there's virtual assistants and there's voice calling, but you would be surprised if you just reach out to a lead, and just start talking to them like you bumped into them at your local coffee shop. Are there any questions thus far? Okay. Well, I wanted to bring up something, and Reggie, I wanted to thank you again for actually putting on this class. And what I was thinking last night, the next one I think we'll do down the road, I think I'm going to call it, or we can call it, movie quotes marketing, and you'll kind of understand that when I give you this next example, and then we'll dive right into the going over the leads. I don't know how many people ever saw the movie Dances with Wolves. It's an older movie and it's a pretty good one. But one of my favorite parts is Kevin Costner is out on the range, and he encounters different issues. But one of the things he comes across is a Native American tribes, and they want to move forward in negotiations, helping each other out. So the gist of it is he goes into the tent of the medicine man, which is a highly ranked individual in the tribe, and they want to start just talking about how they can help each other out, much like you as an agent and a buyer or a seller, potential client. Well, the medicine man starts, and if you saw the movie, they have an interpreter because they don't speak each other's languages. So my point to the story is the medicine man starts asking all these questions, just rapid firing, what about this? What about that? Just all over the place. And Kevin just stops him for a second and he says, "What's your name? How's your day going?" And the medicine man, as wise as he is, he looks at the interpreter and he kind of nods his head. He goes, "Very wise. That's probably the best where we should start, introductions." And if you, again, take that bit of information, as much as I talk, and I won't say how long I talk, that would just not help you this way. But I'll give you a percentage. The majority of the time, 90% of my phone call, maybe even 95% of my phone call, really has nothing to do with real estate. It's just gathering information and letting the person know that I'm true of heart, because most people can sense that you're really trying to help them. You don't need to know everything about what the lead is, as much as you can research it as fast as you can. Again, speed to lead is important, but you want to have some knowledge about what you're about to speak to about. But that doesn't mean you know every answer to the question. Is the solar paid for? Is there how old is the air conditioning? How new is the roof? Those are things that you can find out. And as long as you know what the person is asking for, you can move forward and help them. But again, many times it just starts with having a conversation. "Hello, my name is, I'm with this, and I want to help you with real estate." You can't taste the apple until the seed becomes a tree. And I have all these little notes all over my office that kind of remind me that it's a people business. And if you don't treat people that way, then you'll see that your your business won't grow the way you want it to, and quite the opposite, which is what I believe everybody wants. If you take care of people, they're going to refer you, you're going to get positive reviews, and then some of the leads that you thought were difficult become, I don't always want to say easier, but they become better understandable for you because you now have more skill sets behind you. And with all that being said, and thank you for that longer introduction, but I just think it's so important that you understand that this is a people business. And for many of them, although we do it day in, day out, like Team Green just moves loans all day long, and the Mr. Rogers Homes team, helps buyers and sellers, and Great American moves escrows at a lightning speed. For many of these individuals, this is a pretty scary move, pardon the pun. Some are buying, some are selling, some are doing both. And if many times they need you to walk them through it. So I was going to use a little bit more chat GPT, and with all due respect to its super brain power, I thought you would benefit just hearing it more from me, boots on the ground, and how it all came about. So the first one that we wanted to talk about was social media leads. So here it comes. These leads come in a different variety. There's long form, there's short form, and to kind of define that, short form would be a minimum amount of questions. Are you looking to buy? Or are you looking to sell? I don't really know that there's an actual minimum or maximum to short form. Let's say 3 questions. It's just to get to somebody engaged and get the general information as quick as possible. And then the opposite of this would be the long form, where the leads might be a bit stronger because they might say, if you're looking to buy, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, square footage, single story, 2 story, in excuse me, pool, square footage, year built, everything that somebody would want, though, or that would everything that somebody would be looking for. What usually happens is you'll get a lot more short leads because it's easier for people with your attention spans nowadays just to give you a quick answer to a couple questions as it is to fill out numerous answers. However, it's probably apparent from jump that the short form ones are going to take a little bit more research on your end, a little bit more digging. And however, the long form ones would give you more detailed information. You're probably going to get a lot more if you're paying for these leads, you'll see that you're probably going to get a lot more short form leads than your long form, but the long form leads will give you more information. So is there a catch 22 there? There's not so much a catch, but when you get better at what you do, you'll see that short form leads may be the better avenue for you because you then know what you would be asking for off those long form questions. It's almost like in your brain to ask clients, a price range and area, again, all the details about the property. So whichever one you start out with, and I'm asked all the time, well, which one do you prefer? For me personally, I like, and I know this might sound 50-50, I say I like both. But then if someone said, well, if you had to pick one, in the beginning, when I first started way back when, I liked long form because a lot of it was very much dialed in for me, and I can make sure that what information I was sending that potential client was already exactly pretty close to what they're looking for. But now as I'm a little bit longer in the tooth, when a lead comes in, really all I need is their name and number if they clicked on something. And many times you'll see that some of the leads that you're going to work, they might have forgot what they clicked on or what property they were interested in. They might have been looking at a pair of sneakers or a baseball bat 20 minutes earlier. But if you have some information that they were in the looking for something in the realm of real estate, then you can move forward having questions answered about that. Farming leads, and this is the next one. Farming leads, these leads take the most time as you have to dig deeper to hit pay dirt. They can be the best for everybody because you're the one that is setting the parameters, and how you work them would build your confidence level. And what I mean by that is this, that if you're going to have leads that you're designing the actual lead itself, you can design it around the questions that you want the system to add, the social media, Facebook, Instagram, etc., to reach out and ask those questions. So if they're answering the questions that you asked, you're in the best position to answer those questions because you're the one that asked the questions for them to respond to. So, example, if you're looking for seller leads, then you probably want to say, if you're looking to sell, click here or whatever the hook would be, and then moving forward, what time frame. I know you also buying, again, short form. And if it's longer form, then you could say, how many bedrooms does your property have, bathroom square footage? You can get right down to what do you owe on a mortgage. But my point to the story is if you're going to create farming leads, as I traditionally use them, then I like to cater or custom the actual questions that I'm putting out that's going to favor my strengths as opposed to my weaknesses. And therefore, I can more confidently answer their questions when those leads come in. Any questions there? Okay. And again, thank you guys for just being here. And I like to cover as many bases as I can when it comes to leads because there's just so many different, being that we're in the business, you're probably inundated day in and day out with people that have the best seller leads and the ones that are convert, the cheapest ones, the most expensive ones. But ultimately, and I'll go back to what I originally said, the common denominator is you. So whatever lead you might feel best fits you, that's the one I would start off with trying it. And many times with these leads, remember, it's not one size fits all. Neither is real estate. So when people come to you and they're nervous, some of them, don't know if they should get a condo. Some people don't know if they should be on the first floor, second floor, single family home. So as they have to navigate through their needs and wants, when you start dialing into I don't want to say your niche, although that's a good way to word it. Some people just like to work with first-time home buyers. So your leads would be catered around that. But whatever it is that you're working it out is all going to encompass real estate and buying and or selling. So whatever leads you're working are going to contain that information. So this next one, I advertising, call-in leads. These leads might be the least amount of work, and they're quite opposite of farming leads. But once you dive into what exactly the lead is, the only thing left is really putting up your credit card. So then you have the leads that are coming in. Now, when you receive a lead from an ad you created, the key is to know, again, your game plan. So it kind of circles back to say that if you were to have a call-in lead, when somebody calls into you, And I know this sounds just like repeating like a broken record, but you have to answer that phone. So many agents out there want the business, but if you're swiping left or swiping right or letting it go to voicemail, and we've all been there with maybe our favorite restaurant. This is the restaurant we want to go to, but if they're closed, I don't know that we're going to wait 10 minutes, let alone an hour or the next day to go to that restaurant. You're probably going to get on your phone and go to that next excuse me, available close to restaurant. It doesn't even necessarily mean it's going to be in the same food category. So it's the same thing with leads. When you get leads that are actually reaching out to you, you definitely want to make sure that you know what you're looking for. Because after all, if you're paying for these leads and you're advertising, you know, creating call-in leads, what you definitely want to make sure is you answer the call because that's, you know, you're kind of stating that you'll be there it for them, and then you want to add value when they come in, because if you don't add value, and that's another thing I'll talk about next, if you're not going to add value, then really we're not really much better than the third party websites out there. And I'm not there to put any of those websites down. I'm just here to say that if you can't supply value and you're not customer service friendly, again, as it being a people business, they're probably going to be as polite as possible, but they're going to move on to another probably agent and or a source to help them. And I'll word it the best way I can that way. I'm sorry. Referrals, friends and family. This one always kind of cracks me up because I think it's traditionally Facebook that I see on different posts. I see different forums where people say, you know, my heart is broken. I found out that my best friend or my aunt, my cousin, my neighbor went with a different agent, and you know, what should I do? Well, many believe that the friend and family leads are the slam dunks. Well, truth be told, and it's not really funny, but sometimes you're actually going to do a lot more work and you're going to discount the business because they ask you to. And I don't say this the wrong way, because once you actually learn your trade again, one of my other sayings is it's all mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So you're not going to hurt anyone's feelings when you stick up for yourself politely, and not even stick up for yourself. And most of the time with any leads you're working, you want to move forward to convert a lead to a customer, to a client, and hopefully a long time referral. Well, when you do that, you're protecting usually them from themselves. So when it comes to friends and family, you know, if they're going to work, you know, with somebody else, you have a catch 22 again. It's either borderline insanity that you work for them and they might run you through the gamut around the clock, or they don't go with you. And then traditionally, they're going to ask you, it always happens. They usually reach back out to you and say, hey, I have a question. And then you're kind of put in a position where you say, well, technically what you should do is probably call the agent you're working with. Not so much of a contract or an agreement they have with that other agent, but if they did their due diligence and they selected another agent, you know, you always want to be friendly. Don't burn any bridges, but you also want to, you know, kindly let them know that they went a different route, and that's probably who they should reach out to. The dog wags the tail, and you always want to make sure you know which part of the dog you are. And that to me, when it comes to friends and family leads, and I love those leads. And let me just kind of back up a little bit so it doesn't sound all negative. If you're not working the people you know closest to you, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy from you, but if it's I'll just say your sister, and let's just say she's a school teacher, and you say to yourself, hey, sis, when you go to school, can you pass out some of my cards? Or again, we're blessed to have our own custom app, and with the click of a button, you can share a QR code or a link, and it's got all the properties on there and all for sale and for rent. It's got buyer's guides and seller's guides. So my point to the story is, if you could ask your friends and family to help you out, that's beautiful, because then you're one step away of separation, where you're not actually dealing with somebody that might ask you to do something for free or break your heart going another route. You're actually just building your spear. And that in this business is just one of the biggest things. No matter what the lead is, your ultimate goal is to take care of a client. And again, I'm going to say that. So they refer you, they write a review. Reviews are very important. When you have reviews, you're going to get more leads. And then some of these leads that we're talking about, you can actually move away from, because as we go over these the six main leads that are out there, it's the six main styles of leads, you can break away from those leads and start dialing in what you most feel comfortable with. And one of the things I tell all the, I don't want to say newer agents, but agents that I try to coach or on the team, it's not, again, one size fits all. It should be no shock to anybody that truly knows me that I'm not afraid to talk. So my weapon of choice would be the phone. I answer it, and back in the days, my answer rate was about 98%. So 98 out of 100 leads I'd answer on the first call, and I'd have the best conversation I could, mostly just about in life in general. What do they like? On their pizza, where are they originally from? Are they first time buyers? Just to get to know them. And when you do that, the lead source itself really won't matter. It's like a mechanic. I'm quite sure that they can work on any car. They just have to pop the hood and diagnose what's wrong with it. And if they do that, then they become, top mechanics, and people keep bringing their cars to them and refer them. So it's not really different in our business. But if you don't take care of that original person by, again, answering the call, you're never going to get to take care of them. And therefore, you'll never be able to build your business. In the end, the more refers you have, and then you want to make sure that you have everything needed to help them. I'm trying to give you as much information as fast as possible, but ultimately over time, you'll learn some of the things that you do or don't do, and on how important it is, for example, to be pre-qualified and work with top lenders like Team Green, so you can have them, kind of talk to a client. I always joke and say, stay in your lane. I know enough about lending to be dangerous, but I trust, I trust Team Green, Reggie and his staff and his lenders to answer the questions for a client, because you don't want to be out there unlocking doors. And I say, dealing in disappointment. Somebody's going to fall in love with something that they can't afford. Now it seems like a waste of time for them. Disappointment. And going back to the original topic of this Zoom, your lead will not be successful. And it really wasn't so much the lead itself that wasn't successful. It was your approach to how you went about handling that lead. Any questions there? Okay. Well, we're almost done, with the probably the most important part. And here's the one that, depending on what system you have, and even if you don't have any system, you want to create a time frame that you're going to always be available. If you're not on a team, being that you're solo, then that time frame has to be, well, as wide open as possible. And what I'm talking about is hot transfer leads. Um, these leads are, correction, these leads can be the best of the best. I just want you to understand, again, it's noteworthy that you have to be at the ready. Let's be honest, and I'm just going to read this to you because I still read this to myself, almost daily. Let's be honest. You could be the best agent, the worst agent. You can be new. You can be not quite new. However, if you don't answer your phone or reply to text, you're out. I don't want to keep droning on about this, but it's so important. People say, how do I make sure that I obtain a chance at this lead? And I always say they're called hot leads for a reason, or that's what I call them. In fact, another little side note or tip for you is I typically will put in my phone money lead, how the lead phone number is going to ring, hot lead, money lead, hot transfer, whatever it is that that it's pretty important that you answer it, because answering is key. You're not really so much in a rush to get through the conversation. You want to make sure you answer the phone, because the bottom line is, and here it comes again, if you don't take care of the client, they're gonna go somewhere else. At last count, I think there was 90. Again, I thought there was 85 to 90,000 agents. There's probably 20,000 doing the work. There's probably 5,000 doing 90% of the transactions. And how they survive in this business is to jump on leads and follow up properly. So if you're not gonna add value, then the chance of you actually converting a lead to, I don't like to say paycheck, because then it seems it's all about money, and it's about helping people, and that by nature will make sure that you survive in this business. But if you don't take care of the lead initially, you won't move any quicker. And I know that kind of rumble stumbles, but I guess why I say it that way is because hot leads are just everybody wants the hot lead, the fresh lead. They just click on it, and you have to be able to jump on it as quick as possible in order to make sure that you have a chance at the lead.
Hey, Sean. Hey,
Yes.
how you doing, sir? Nick Magallanes. I'm with Green Home Loans.
Yes,
So, a
sir.
couple questions for you. So, I like
Yes.
the dances with wolves analogy, and I think a lot of times, even as loan officers, we're all waiting to get the Glengarry, Glen Ross leads. So, my question for you, because when I get the leads, what I've learned, because everybody gets AI calls, everybody gets spam calls, so I call. They decline. Then I sent a text message saying, "Hey, this is Nick Magallanes, Green Home Loans. I got your information, yada, yada, yada. Are you available to chat?" And sometimes I won't say, "Are you available to chat?" I said, "I'm here to help you out. Talk to you soon." I wait 5 to 10 seconds and then I call right back. Now, in my experience, and again, I don't know everything, it takes sometimes the seventh or eighth call of me doing that. Then they'll either pick up, say, F off, DNC, or like, you know what? Not right now, or you know what? Hey, call me in about 3 to 6 months. What are your thoughts on that, Sean?
Nick, what a great couple of questions in there. And, you juggle. And by the way, everything that you said is pretty much spot on. And to answer your question or your questions, it's funny when you get more skilled in certain things. Again, I keep saying back in my days, but I would have my cell phone. And I don't know that any of the newer agents, and no disrespect to them again, I don't know if they have a secondary phone or a landline or if they're at their office, but tying into your most beautiful question. Sometimes and I'm only trying to help you guys close deals, but as you know, most of the leads might not answer the phone. Sometimes the best thing to do, Nick, is to call them and just hang up. I don't know what the mindset to it all is, but somehow they have to call back. Number one. Number two, and again, I'm giving you the old man skills here that over the years you learn. Number two, you call and leave a voicemail and then send a text. Then if you had that secondary line, and you could actually call then and go back and do it, like you said, a text or an email or a phone call. But it's always in my brain, the whole business of leads, any of these leads, Nick, that the ultimate thing is they clicked on something. So I crack up when you said, they ultimately give you the, proverbial middle finger, or they tell you to pounce on whatever, and they do that. So if I'm going to just be straight with you guys, and I will, sometimes those turn out to be your best friends. I just had one yesterday, and I'll share it with you real quick because we're talking about leads. They said, "Hey, Sean, I found you, with reviews. Why should I have you list my house as opposed to listing at FSBO, for sale by owner?" And, I wasn't, it could have been one of those chest pounding things, Nick, and he also, by the way, had to buy a property. So that kind of, it goes deeper down the rabbit hole. So my quick answer, and I say it all the time, is, Steve, his name was Steve. I go, "Steve, look, I could take a pair of pliers, take a swig of whiskey and pull my own tooth, but I'm going to the dentist. Now, here's some advice I'm going to give you. You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's. I don't have a dog in the fight. Get one of those red and white signs. I think they're like $14. Get a black permanent marker. Make sure it's black and permanent. Put your phone number on it. Stick it in your front yard. And what's going to happen for you is your neighbors are going to take a tour of your house, or somebody's going to drive down the street and they're going to come into your house. I don't know how unless you have other sales skills, and not even sales skills, maybe customer service skills,
Sure.
and you write down their name and phone number and email. I really don't know who's going in your house. That is part one. But the biggest thing, Steve, would be this: is that I don't know if you have access to contracts. I don't know if you have lenders that are going to, pre-qualify any leads that might be coming through to make sure they can buy your property. I don't know that you have the ability to answer the questions from I say layman to merchant way, because if you're pretending that you're an agent and or pretending you're a lender, you're pretending that you're a home inspector, you're only going to get yourself in trouble. So at the end of the conversation, I just had something to think about, and then I don't really dive deep into compensations. Like I said, I try to build Nick, I try to build a rapport with the client before I get into the mud with them, because otherwise, a lot of the things you guys, and I'm trying to stay on point, but sometimes when we start rattling off acronyms, and then with you guys, you have, your PQs and your debt to, things that, even I still ask Reggie, what does this mean? After, after almost 35 plus years in the business, I'm still asking these questions. But with us, you start throwing out like, well, as long as you know how to fill out the spuds and the binzer and you know what the clue is, if you break that down for them, then all of a sudden you can almost see them go into a panic that they're probably in over their head and they haven't even touched the water yet. So Nick, I'm sorry I kind of babbled on, but
You're good.
with any lead, I kind of play to how they treat me is how I treat them back. And sometimes we turn out to be best friends. And I get it, Nick or everybody on this, when you get a lead, they're probably getting bombarded, depending on what website or what site they're on. And again, some of these things that I'm just trying to give you so much information, some leads you're going to create on your own, like long form and short form, and they're only going to click to you. So it's more directed to you. And then there's other leads that, that they're definitely being shared. And as soon as they click on a property, they can have anywhere between 3 and 5 agents and 3 and 5 lenders calling them, texting them, emailing them. So sometimes, Nick, and here's another thing, sometimes hold off a little bit. If you know the lead source, if it's a lead that you're paying directly for yourself, then jump on it as quick as possible. If it's a hot lead, answer your phone. But maybe if it's a third party lead, and I don't like to drop names, but I'll say if it's r.com or z.com, if it's a lead coming in from those sites, maybe hold off a little bit and let them get let that lead get bombarded. They are probably going to get frustrated and wait a little bit. Sometimes that works out too. So I hope that answered your question, Nick.
It does. And then one of the things too, when they finally pick up, even if they say, who the freak is this? Hey, buddy, it's your long lost brother, man. It's good to finally connect with you. And there's usually
Yeah.
a 5 to 10 second pause. And then, sometimes it goes in different directions, but it breaks the monotony.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I said, and this kind of what I wanted to have a couple questions because that's what agents ask me all the time. And some of those questions come at you. And although it's kind of funny talking about Dances with Wolves, sometimes I think if you just slow the roll a little bit and do exactly what you did, just introduce yourself. And many of the times, like, hey, look, you called me. And now I'm getting yelled at because I'm a good customer service or a real estate agent calling you back. Sometimes they chuckle and, next thing you know, you're, having a cup of coffee with them. And that's really what it's all about. I think sometimes we're just trying to, rapid fired leads because they're coming in at that pace and there's a lot of business. But back in the days before we had all this technology, you actually sat down with a person and, you got to know them. You would be surprised now when I ask people, like, after the transaction, which is kind of follow up to any of these, and I'll end with that because that's probably the more important part, Nick. You're keeping that customer relations with people, but when you actually get to know them as more than just a transaction or a number that you're trying to, call fast, show a house fast, write a contract fast, get a loan for, get keys, get paid, and move on with your life. When you actually kind of take time to invest in them, you'll see that over the years it'll pay off because you were a good person, and in your case a great lender, and in our end of it, good real estate agents, and that's what people remember long since the initial bombarding of calls that you originally were connected to them with.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome, and thank you. Oh, this one is and I think it's last for a reason because it's certainly not last but not least, but it's a lender leads. And this is huge to me. And building a relationship with your lender is really what's all about. You have to understand that the most important decision a person's going to make, but buying property or going out looking for property, shopping for homes it's fun. When you get into the contract negotiations, I don't know that it's fun for, either side, but prior to that, the lender he is your wingman or you are their wingman. You need to work close with the top lenders because if you don't do that, you're already off on the wrong path. Now, there's there's two rules of thumb, and again, being very transparent, I'm asked this a lot too when it comes to leads. Would you ever show a house before you know that the person's pre-qualified, or do you always get them pre-qualified first? That's not so much a trick question. That's a great question. Me personally, time is valuable and I've earned my stripes. I go about leads a little different, and I can't tell you how to do leads, but I use this scenario when I'm visiting the doctor and I'm paying him a premium and he tells me to stop eating chicken wings and stop drinking so much Pepsi, get some sleep, take my pills and go to the gym. He's giving me that advice. I don't second guess that advice. He's earned his degrees and I take his advice. If I was on the operating table, God forbid, I would not tell him how to go about the surgery. So that's kind of like my attitude moving forward with some of the leads. When you feel confident and you know what you're doing, and that takes time. So when you're there, great. Well, you're getting there, use what you have around you, and in this case again, lenders will be a great way to say, and this is the way I break it in. I can show you properties. I just don't want you to fall in love with something that you might not be. You have to be very ginger about this, but might not be where you want it to be budget wise. So let's just have a quick buyer's consultation, because again, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage, the parameters of the property, that's kind of fun talk. I like lighting, excuse me, and we'd like to have a fireplace, and if a pool's possible, all that stuff is just their dreams coming true. And I love watching people succeed getting their houses. Nothing makes me happier than helping people. But once I'm done with that, I usually typically say you definitely want to reach out to a lender and have them dial in where you are, so then we can start really focusing on the properties that best fit what you want, and we'll try to get as many of those requirements in. But we also want to make sure that one of the first ones is your budget is where you want it to be. So, and when you're plugging, here's another thing, whether it's leads or lenders, and speaking of lender leads, when I'll use the word plugging your lender, you have to, or your title company, and I'm blessed to be able to work with, Great American and Team Green. When you're plugging them, you have to actually feel and believe in your heart that you as an agent, they as lenders and or title companies are going to best help somebody. Because really these leads, again, any of these leads that we're talking about are all pretty much new to you. They're not, again, it's not a past client or referral or repeat business. It's new. And they can, I guess, like a dog, they can smell the fear, or maybe they can sense that you're trying to be a little bit but I don't want to use the word pushy, but you're moving in a direction that they don't want too quick. So you definitely want to make sure that whoever you're going to refer them to, again, lending or title, that that person will take care of business. And that's how you're going to see teamwork all come together. When they know the lender is helping them and you're the agent and titles company, even when you can refer home inspectors, when you have all the package coming together, people understand that. But again, back to lenders leads, and I'm again blessed to work with Team Green, and I'll say that till I'm blue in the face, because it really is an honor. And sometimes I'm jealous that I don't get to work directly with the lenders or title anymore, just because I have a different role. But I just know that whenever I reach out to them, a funny story about what we're speaking about, they always answer their phones. Whether it's Bree and Lynn or Reggie, Jim, KT, anybody, Team Green or Great American, and I'm not a paid endorser. I'm doing this out of the, kindness of my heart to help everybody out there grow their business and help people achieve their goals. But my point to that story is, if you are using a CRM with lender leads, we have the ability on the Mr. Rogers Homes team to actually add a lender. We can internally email them or text them and call them, whatever it is. So we kind of help each other out. Whereas hey, we're talking to Billy Buyer and he's looking for this price, I'm going to start putting together a list of properties and I'm going to set him up in our system, adding all those requirements. In the meantime, Jim, who we work directly with at Team Green, Jim, could you reach out to Billy Buyer and just, introduce yourself? I'll break the ice for you through the system. Again, email, call, or text. And then could you kind of take it from there? All the information that will be in our system. And then he moves forward. And that just is a what I would call soft transfer, that the person is willing enough to move forward with you and then the lender, and both work the way it usually works. We can't guarantee that they're going to get qualified, but we can guarantee that we're going to offer them the best service we can. So the main goal in my brain when you're working with a lender is just to make sure you're on the same page. You formulate a game plan. And many of these leads are good to go and start shopping right now. Like if anyone's going to get them qualified quick, Team Green will. So get out there and start shopping. And again, now it's more on you to make sure that the property is what they're looking for in the area and price range, et cetera, et cetera. And then especially in this market, we're navigating some tricky times. So many times they need a little assistance in order to get pre-qualified. And that's where you can probably, if it was me personally on any lead, I'll make sure that I stay in touch with them and or the lender to make sure that I don't prematurely jump the gun on that pre-qualification process. Sometimes it takes a little bit for them to dial in their financial requirements, and that way you're not moving forward prematurely. Any questions there? Okay. Let's see here. Do. And we're almost done, and I think we're almost right on time. So thank you guys for listening. Here's a little information again. You can't cheat the grind. And I know I said that before, but it bears repeating, meaning you have to do the work. Most of these leads are not just going to write an offer on the first property you see. And like I said, Nick, again, thank you for the question. Some of them don't even answer your phone the first time or the second time, the email, the text. And I just see like the chart that I showed you. Sometimes you have to call, email. Boy, you almost have to be a step below stalking, and I use that word gingerly. But my point is, one text, one email, one phone call is not going to happen. If we're talking brutally honest here, most of their emails aren't even going to make it to them. They delete them. A text message, they probably have numerous text messages. Phone calls, you got sent to voicemail. So if they pick yours of all the ones, they're gonna read your blessed. But if you want to increase your odds, then you have a follow-up system, whether it's a notepad or it's the top of the line CRM. When you have a system of follow-up, call, text, email, text, call, when you just keep repeating that and offer value, not just to keep saying, you called me, you have to start adding value to your leads. And how I do that is just kind of mix them up a little bit. Regardless of what the lead is, I'll typically try to just spin the wording a little bit around. I'm not trying to go for the kill right off the get-go because, again, I don't know them. So always work those leads that way. And every lead you work is going to have one common thing in common, you. So although we went over 6 different styles of leads, it really doesn't make a difference if you're not doing the work. And I just spoke in front of a couple other agents about a week ago, and I just want you guys to take a little quick test. I'll make you laugh real quick. But if you consider a part-time job 20 to 30 hours a week, and you consider a full-time job 40 to 60 hours a week, and again, gauge your own time frame, then that's about how long you should be working this business. So, if your phone's not on and you're not going to text message back, it's really not the lead's fault. Going back to the beginning, leads are like gold mines. They're only as good as the person working them. And if you kind of remember that, you'll understand that it's not so much the lead that didn't pay off. If you left one text message that didn't get back to you, I guarantee you, of all the agents that are out there, there's going to be somebody that wants to do the work. And one of my most famous quotes in the world is, how you do anything is how you do everything. So take the time to work each lead properly based on which lead it is. Gather information, send information, call them back when they asked, email them if they ask not to be called. If they're moving here tomorrow, then you better have a list of houses being sent to them in the morning when they're having their coffee. If they're relocating from somewhere else, you don't need to bombard them every week. So I'm pretty much sure that covers it. One other thing I was going to say, I was going to throw in one more just kind of funny
Hey,
thing. Yep,
hey, Sean, we
yeah.
have a question in the chat. Can I
Oh,
read it to
yes.
you?
I'm sorry. Yes, please do.
Um,
I'm sorry.
Anna said, I'm not sure if these leads have been screened or whether any of the phone numbers are on the D&D list. How do you usually check that, and what's the best way to reach out to them?
Great question. Again, the quick answer is our CRM actually has on a side panel. It'll say if it's on the DNC list or not. Typically, if it is let me back that up one more time. That's a great question. Depending on how the lead comes in, sometimes it's email only, sometimes it's texting, sometimes it's calling. And again, until I'm blue in the face, my weapon of choice is calling. So what a great question, because emailing, I guess that works because you have it in writing, and that's rule number 1 in real estate. Rule number 2, everything's negotiable. But emailing to me is probably the least effective because it's just probably not going anywhere. Texting, a lot of people like it's a little bit more impersonal and probably a good way to start out a conversation. So if in our system it tells me do not call, and I also try to stick with the TCPA, not calling after 9 p.m. But a funny story on that, and I'm trying to ram this on you guys. Many times I get leads, calls at leads, and I kid you not, at midnight, 1 in the morning, I rarely sleep. So if I see that lead come in, sometimes it's a flip of a coin based on what the lead's asking for. If they want to tour home, 8 a.m. and it's midnight that night, I'm calling them right back. Um, I'm not telling you what to do or recommending you do anything, but you have to play off the lead. If they just want to know something about a property, I'll probably um, have our system email them, set the schedule to email them or text them in the morning. And I think I answered that question. If it's how do you find out if they're on that list? I only know through our system, and I think maybe title, and I don't want to, maybe Bree can answer that if there's a way to find out who's on a DNC list or who isn't. If you're nervous about that, then I would probably do the homework to find out. But my just general rule of thumb is if I'm paying for a lead and they click on something, somewhere in the down there in the nitty gritty on whatever site they clicked on, it probably says you're going to get calls and you're going to get text and email. So I don't know that it's 100% applicable that they're going to say you're not cold calling them out of if you guys remember what a phone book is, it's not like you just randomly called on through the phone. So that would be my best answer to that. And I hope that answered some of your questions.
I got
Um,
there's another question in here from Chanel.
Love it.
What are good sources for leads? I'm getting bombarded with companies asking me to sign up for leads. How do I choose?
Great question. Typically what I do, and this is definitely my wheelhouse. I usually ask them to email me their parameters. I'm a talker, so I'll list back up one more time. Sometimes when they call you, have some fun as if they were a lead. One of my priding joys in my life that I knew I was going to be successful, if that's the way you want to word it, and thank you, the Lord, for everything that I've received, is I actually sold a house to a car warranty gentleman that called me about a car warranty. My point to that is when they're trying to sell you, you can pick information from them and learn how to handle leads. But to answer your question directly, how do you know which lead you want to pay for or which lead you want to sign up from? What I do, and I still do this to this day, is I ask them, what's their costs? What's the amount of leads that they're going to provide? So $100 a month and for 20 leads. What's the longevity of their contract? And make sure they email it to you because many of times you'll sign up for something and getting out of it's a lot tougher than getting into it. Then more importantly, and kind of talking about exactly what this great question, by the way, talking about what this whole Zoom meeting is about, is you want to see if that lead is what you want to work on. Let me say this: Facebook's leads, for example, they're pretty inexpensive, and a lot of people they don't think they're a higher quality lead. There's leads that cost me $2, and there's leads that cost me $5,000. And our system has a smorgasbord of leads, but you need to know which one you best can handle or which one best fits you. So I guess even though I babbled on forever about that, whatever lead source that's calling you, and I trust me, I get being bombarded. Just make sure that you write down, have your question about leads you like to work, and then see what they're offering you.
Okay, I got another one for you.
Okay, yeah, fire away.
Okay, how do you approach the first 5 to 15 seconds? I feel like this is the window we have to gain their attention.
And if that means when you're talking to, like if you get them on the phone in your first 5 to 10 seconds, there used to be and I don't know if everybody like is comfortable on the phone. That's number one. There used to be a group out there called Toastmasters, and they kind of, and I'm probably dating myself there, but they taught you how to talk, or I guess speak to leads. And KT, you know that other slide is a great one that we can share with people that would kind of say these are words. By the way, great question. The that slide that we'll show you guys is kind of words never to use. So try to stay away from the red words, I guess, on the left, and try to use the ones on the right. But specifically answering your question, the first 5 to 10 seconds, when I call them and if they answer, I just pretty much say, "Hello, Steve. This is Sean Rogers with West USA, Mr. Rogers Homes Team, and I saw that you were interested in the property on 123 Robin Road in Gilbert. Great location. I'm very familiar with it. I just wanted to reach out. And if depending on, I guess, your mood, and by the way, that's a side note to this. sometimes you know you best. If you're a night owl or a morning person, when you're in your best mood, maybe that first cup of coffee and you're ready to rock and roll, that's when they can sense happiness or, insecurity or whatever word you want to use. So maybe it's not so much what lead, it's when you're working the lead. So pick the time that you're best able to work them. And then when you answer the phone, I always introduce myself. I always reiterate the firm I'm with, so they know it's not something that's, I guess, again, there's a lot of not legit clicks out there. I don't want to use the word scam, but people that don't have good intentions. So I always introduce myself. I introduce the firm I'm with, the team I'm on, and then I ask them how I can help based on the lead, based on what they're looking for. Again, some of them, just have general questions, and some of them want to set up a tour. And again, if you have any questions, reach out, because that's a great question, but it's broad stroke. Like, oh, does this house have an open house this weekend, or are you the listing agent? So you probably want to stay away from the diving deep into that on that first or 5 or 10 seconds. I just like to say, and here's my best line I could ever give you. When they call and I say, hey, Steve, how's your day going? And just usually, unless they're way off the mark, they're going to say pretty good. And then they might say, who is this? Or what the beep do you want? Whatever they're going to say, you've already offered what I would call a generic olive branch, or so you can move forward with the conversation. And if you try to keep in mind, don't try to sell them on the very first 5 to 10 seconds, then you're going to be much better off. Does that make sense? Okay. If I have any other questions, KT?
Nope, no more in the chat.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to read one more thing to you guys, and I think I'm right on time. And if any questions you have, always just reach out. And like I said, I know it's kind of all over the place, but if you get something out of it, lead sources are only going to be catered to what you want. It's like walking on a car lot and saying, I want a car. And then the dealership, or the car salesman will say, what color, what size, what shape. And if you start saying red, two-door pickup truck, all of a sudden the thousand cars get narrowed down to the exact what you're looking for. So leads are the same way. If you're going to pay premium for hot leads, then you better be able to answer your phone. If you're going to take leads that are going to be more common shared across the board with other agents that are, paying for these leads, then you better be able to quickly get back to them with the information they want. Don't go off path. But here's my Reggie, what I was going to say the next time we do a meeting, I was going to say, let's call it something like movie quote marketing, because here's another one of my favorite ones. And then I'll end it with this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But it's from a movie. Again, all these movies that I love and they're older, but this one's Shawshank Redemption. I don't know if anyone saw it, but it's Andy was an inmate at a prison, and he wanted to restore the prison library. Well, he was going to do that by writing the state senate for funding. And the warden, I think it was Warden Norton, said, yeah, good luck with that. They're not going to give you a nickel, but if you write the letter, write the letters, I'll pay for the postage and I'll mail them out for you. So Andy sent one letter a week, and I want you to hear this because it ties directly to what we're talking about. He wrote one letter a week for 6 years. Not one text, even though there weren't probably texts then, but not one text, not one email, not one call, one letter a week for 6 years. He then received a shipment at the prison that had a couple of books and magazine in it, within the box. It had a check for $200, and it had a reply letter that said, Dear Andy, thank you for writing us. Here's some books. Here's a couple of dollars. Stop bothering us. We consider this case closed. Andy smiled, and he looked at the warden, and he said, wow. And now I'm going to write 2 letters a week instead of one to get more. And if you saw how the movie ended, the prison library turned out to be one of the best because his persistency paid off, because they, supplied him with not only more money, but records and all kinds of different encyclopedias. But my point to that story is, if you think that you're going to convert a cold lead who doesn't know you from Adam, doesn't know anything about you, with one or two of their big buying and or selling their biggest investments of their lives based on one text or one email or call, it's just not going to work that way. So that's why that first chart that I showed you, you need to be just true of heart. Always keep the client in mind. They'll know that you're real or fake, and then be persistent. The lead may not work out the first time. In fact, cute story in our system, we have leads that are 2 minutes old and we have leads that are 10 years old. And you would be surprised that sometimes a buyer becomes a seller, some seller becomes a buyer. I just hung up with one that he bought from us 8 years ago, and now his daughter is getting married and she's moving out, wants to buy a house. And just because of the follow up, 8 years, much like Andy, 6 years, 8 years, and not every day, but here or there, it reached out just to see how things are going. So leads, again, boy, write it down. Leads are like gold mines. They're only as good as you are working them. So if you're not going to work them, then none of these leads are going to pay off and you're going to be spending money pretty much, doing nothing. And it's the same thing with any site that you use, whether it's, again, a paid lead, you door knocking, you doing open houses, and I'm probably out of time, but if you're going to do an open house and you set up shop at 10:59 for an 11 o'clock, and you haven't passed out postcards and you haven't put your ad out or created some type of ad on social media, yeah, I'm sure you'll get a couple people, but when you do it right, how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you take this business serious, then you're definitely going to see the fruits of the labor pay off.
We got one more on here, Sean.
Sure.
Jennifer said, can you mention how leads recycle themselves? Old buyer leads, work them now like a seller lead. Tenants become buyers, then sellers. Landlords become sellers, then buyers. 1031 exchange, etc.
Yeah,
So you
great.
need
Oh,
to
great.
constantly work leads, not
Yeah,
just the new low-hanging fruit.
yeah, thank you. Great question. Yes, let me just, boy, I'm sorry, I'm just bobbing because that question that's spot on. Because again, somebody gets a lead and they jump on it, they don't get an answer, and I guess I say, yep, that's no good, and there they go. I text them once, they didn't get back to me, or whatever they may have done. If you put them again, I don't want to keep saying our system, but in our system, our whole left-hand side, is all about the client, their name, phone number, email, all about the property they're looking for. And then we have the ability to text them, call them, email them, set them up for virtual calling, blah, blah, blah. If they don't reply over time, you'll see it. And again, I'm a human being too. Sometimes I see that they bought a house and not with me, and sometimes I want to punch the wall. No, I'm not a violent person, but you get the point. But I don't give up on them. I then use the systems that I know and the systems that I pay for. For example, I go into Flex, I see the property that they bought, and then I put that property. Maybe they were renting prior and they bought a property without me. And moving forward, I see what property they bought because I followed up to look at that with MLS, and then I put that address in there, and then I send them. There's different systems out there. Ours sends a pretty cool comparable market analysis, and you can schedule its frequency every day, every week, every month, quarterly, annually. So you can click those buttons and it'll be sent out. And as that question stated, that renter who became a buyer, and I missed that one and I'm not happy with it, and I want to sharpen my skills to see where I missed that. I then, now they become a seller, and a seller might then down the road say, hey, I want to rent out my property, keep it and buy another one. So there's all kinds of different ways that you want to stay in touch with people. And whatever leads you have, and God, I know kind of a little off topic again, but whatever leads you have, you know, maybe send them a card on their, 1 year anniversary of purchasing the property. Reach out to them and tell them something new or see how they're doing. If you treat them like people, again, this is a people business, you're going to see it pay off. So when you build that rapport with the client, I like to build long-term relationships because I want this is my profession, going back to how many hours you work in this profession. If you want to make yourself financially successful, this business is one of the best to do it, but it's not going to happen by accident. And anyone that truly knows me knows that, I answer that phone. I'll probably talk the ear off like I did for you, for everybody here, but it's only because I care about you and I really want you guys to do the best you can out here in this business, because it's a business that can make everybody better. That's pretty
Awesome.
much it. Unless there's any other questions, I could keep talking forever. That's the truth.
Thank you, Sean.
You're more than welcome. And guys, as a little end note, I just want to say again, thank you, Great American for sponsoring this, and thank you for the Team Green and all that you do. Thank you again for West USA and all the agents out there. This is not the easiest business. Back in the days, you guys probably don't remember that it used to say what are the 3 L's of real estate, and people used to say location, location, location. The internal joke is no, everybody thinks it's get your license, get a listing, get a Lexus. It's really not that. You have to work in this business. And if you remember this, none of these really are leads, they're lives. These are people's lives. You got to treat it that way. I mean, think about the next time you go out for a cup of coffee or buying a pair of sneakers, the amount of time that you spend on that, multiply that time somebody's, making a lot of payments for a lot of years. Um, take care of them and take care of yourselves. So, and that's that.
Thanks, Sean.
You're more than
Thank you,
welcome.
Sean.
Thank you guys.
Great class.
Ever,
And thank you,
ever,
everyone. Oh, go ahead.
no,
Go ahead,
no,
Lynn.
no, you go ahead. I was just going to thank everyone as well. Yeah, you finish it
You
out.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you all for joining. We really appreciate it. Please reach out if you have any questions at all. Go ahead, Kaylee.
Yes, thank you all so much for being on here. And I'll send out the recording so that you guys can refer back to it if you couldn't take notes fast enough or whatever. And then I'll also send out the two graphics that we referenced on here so that you have them to keep. So
Thanks, KT.
again,
And
thank you all. And
yep,
thank
and I'm
you,
not.
Sean and Jennifer and
Yep.
Lynn.
I'm not a big what you would say endorser, but if you want to find me anywhere, it's Mr. spelled out, Mr. Rogers Homes, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, you name it. That's how you find me, and I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions.
Amazing.
Have a great
Thank
day.
Have a
you.
great rest
Thank
of
you,
your
everyone.
week. Thank
Yep.
you.
Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.